Passport Road Visuals. Back at it with another one. And so this one going to talk about, this one's going to be about Floyd and his situation down there in Brazil. So, I mean, here's the main thing I wanted to mention that I found out. So before he went to jail, I did see LLTV's clip. He just posted it again. I saw it earlier. Actually, it was I think it was like that first year of Floyd. But Floyd was talking about the age of consent in Brazil, right? Or Colombia, or whatever. So Brazil, yeah. So apparently, it's unfortunately it's age 14. Now, what he didn't know. Now he may say he follows the law of 18 and up, but Floyd was not understanding, which I think is really my point. So I look it up, whatever it is, and as far as like can a foreigner engage with a minor out there in like Brazil? Well, apparently, as far as the U.S. is concerned, under the code, I think it's 2423C under the United States Code, our law, our legal law, applies to us overseas as well. So he may be, if he were to do that, he would be good, so to speak, in the eyes of Brazil, from a legal standpoint. But in American eyes, he wouldn't be good. He would be considered illegal. So if he were to do that, get found out, let's say he goes back home, he'll get arrested and charged, with that type of crime with a minor, as if he had done so in America. But and I got to thinking about it, and I'm sure Floyd, I think he probably didn't, realize it. But I started thinking about it. No, he couldn't have probably missed it. He would have tried to figure that out, earlier. So I think he would have learned that earlier. But he already started in a bad spot when he's talking about, dealing with these young girls like 18 and up. As you say, well, if I deal with a girl who's 25, people are gonna look at that less. If I say 25 and up, that's more believable. People would more so believe that I would, date 25 and up. But if you're saying 18 and up, that's part of the problem right there. If you're sitting there saying 18 and up, then that's going to make people, question whether you really are going to go 18 up. It's right there 18, so like why 18? They're going to think more likely 18 and down, and that's why Floyd is in this situation. So I guess he may have got with a girl 18, he may have dealt with a 17-year-old. She's probably like 3/4 of the way up to 18 or whatever, something like that. And he's probably a 16-year-old girl, but now he's trying to look in the law to try to justify justify his actions. You see how it just goes further down and down and down instead of up and up and up. Because that's what people like that Floyd do. So Floyd was already in a bad frame of thinking, in a bad way, just mentioning 18 and up. Yeah, legally, yeah, but that's not what people think. Most people don't say it. And him putting the emphasis on it is problematic. You shouldn't necessarily want to care for trying to engage with a girl that's 18. You should, be around more so around your age, like 25, maybe 22, But like I say, Floyd was not, he was just so focused on this idea of her being younger. This is why, he's in this idiotic situation. And, that's just a bad look for the passport bros in general. But it's definitely a bad look for him, in the space. because I'm gonna be honest, be quite frank. I also did look up the sex tourism as far as the industry behind it, right? That industry unfortunately is a it's a $6.4 billion. No, it's a $64 billion business industry. As sad as it is, and I found out like in Thailand, they range around 6.4 billion, and there's one report that showed 2024 showing up to 7 billion. Which is $1 billion, which is crazy. That's like 15% of their economy, of their GDP, or something like that. So, this is a business. And unfortunate as it is, with sex tourism, this is not the way to go when it comes to the passport bros. Talk about looking for love, because let's be honest, most guys who travel, in the context of traveling, they're not necessarily looking for love. And all you try to do is interject regular guys into that world of how people go about, how guys go about traveling. So as an expats guy, he may work at a U.S. company, but he may have to travel every year and spend like 4 to 6 months in another country working at a sister company over there in another country. Right? That's how that works. Things like that. So just trying to interject young guys and even older fools into that, doesn't make any sense. It's not a realistic thing. Yeah. Especially if you don't really care for the actual culture, which is even worse. Like I said, a lot of these guys, they don't speak the language at all. They best to try to speak a broken form of that language. Just to make it seem like they're trying. But you're not really there for that. You're there for more than you would try to learn the culture and stuff like that. I look at Thailand. I prefer the Philippines, but look at Thailand. I just see how beautiful it is. And then it's like, man, how can you not want to learn the language? Learn the people, the culture. All that sort of stuff. It's crazy. But that's the problem with, like I said, with what Rico was saying. You're not really going for the culture. In a way you are, because it's a different place, it's exotic, but you're going for the women, and you're paying for it. And the fact that it's so polarizing, calling yourself by that title of passport bros, putting a face to it, compared to like the white guys, it's completely backwards. That's why people like Floyd, like Jay Rello, never called himself the passport bro, because despite all his problems, and despite how polarizing he is, he knew that the title of passport bros was even more polarizing than anything to a certain extent of what he can do. That's why he's somewhat lasted as long as he has, So, but also, I looked up like with Thailand as far as sex tourism, right? The bulk of the money of the sex tourism out there in Thailand comes from the local men. So this whole thing coming at the white man and all that sort of stuff, he's been doing it for years. Well, the white man, he's been doing it for years, but he know how to move. Our problem is we want to move how we want to move in another country. When you logically think about it, it don't take that much logic. That don't make no sense. The old saying go what? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. And it don't make no sense to try to try to move how we move in a foreign country. You think about it, it's stupid. It's silly, it's dumb, and it definitely shows you're not really there for the people or culture or anything like that, But at least with the white guys, white sex tourist guys, those guys, they do what they do, they leave, they end up having children or something like that in that country that they don't take care of. But some of them, the pastor goes doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but these guys do what they do and leave. You know what I'm saying? Do what they do and leave, And it's ridiculous and it's embarrassing. And it's real bad. So my prediction for this year, I think, I know Skylar, the wrong left or whatever, he looks bad too, but not as bad, but he does look bad. He left Brazil. He went to Texas. A lot of these guys are like from Texas, like with Austin, Skyler, Floyd to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of these guys from like Texas, which is crazy. But I'm sure that's just coincidence. But yeah, I would say like this whole thing is an industry. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't be surprised if these countries try to get specifically black American passport bros up out of there, and it's going to go back to business as usual. I know, like Sasua, it's they complain about how Sasua is with the renovations or new buildings or something like that, getting new investment. Okay, cool, they're going to get that too, but guess what? It's still going to end up being, it's going to be the same as before. It's just going to be the same as before. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to, just be prepared. They're probably going to try to push you guys out because before, this wasn't as polarizing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you see the fat white guy laying on the beach, on some type of sea thing, enjoying Thailand or whatever, or Sasua, whatever. But at the same time, that's just what it was. That's just what it was. But it wasn't as polarizing with the passports because you're putting out there on the internet with a bunch of different guys doing it, putting a name to, what they doing. The white guys don't really do that. Yeah, they got the YouTube channels, they do what they do, but it's not even the same as far as like how they move. They just showing the country, the people, they doing interviews even. And they just, they have a good time. You filming most of the day or half the day for content, trying to look, do like a vlog, and it's just not, you're not helping your case because it looks like sex to them. At least with the white guys, they doing it, but it's not looking like sex to them. If a guy doing interviews and like with the locals, with local women, or he hanging out with them, going to a little party or something, having a good time, you can imply that this is going to lead to that or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, it kind of like a gray area. You're just having a time. You're going there for the intent, have a good time, and sleep with women, or have a date so-called, and sleep with women. And it's just a rough kind of look, you know what I'm saying? When you have so many guys doing it, it's just exploitative, Also, the other dude, Giamo, he's not. I don't much care. I don't dislike him, but I don't really care for him either. He's even worse. He's kind of in the same boat. He's trying to do like a little bit of a pivot now too, but he's a massive trick too. That's not to be respected, but that's how that goes. But like I say, the other countries, they're going to get you up out of there, and they're going to try to pull it back, towards the way it was before the passport bros blew up. Because they're going to look at you guys as the idea of lesser of two evils. You guys are white guys. They're going to get rid of you and keep the white guys, and at least with them, they had more money. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, you're using the strength of the dollar, but at least they ain't blow up the spot. And a lot of other guys, they're saying that Game Changers 0001 said the same thing on his recent videos I saw. You guys just blowing up the spot, and that's all you're doing. At least with the white guys, they showing the country, they showing other things other than tricking. Even though they are tricking, but they're showing other things. That's what gives an indication that you are tricking, because all you're showing us the women. Floyd, Jay Rello, taking back to the couch dealer interview. We know what it is. You ain't see Floyd, you ain't see Jay Rello interact with no foreigner at all. So it's like interviews, like talks or whatever. Same with Floyd and even Austin. And even Kid Greatness. You don't really see these guys mingling with foreigners unless it's like women. You know what I'm saying? That just shows that's what you're there for. So, but my prediction with for this year, it's going to get worse for the passport bros. I think the red pill space as a whole, but I think the red pill space will kind of bounce back compared to the passport bros. I also think Austin might probably I predict he might come back home to America probably this year. And, if the pressure keeps on mounting as far as the passport goes, with the criticism in the space and all that, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes home by, this summer or later this year. I wouldn't be surprised, because like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with this Floyd situation as far as how it's going to look, and let's just say Floyd was out. Anything he say or do, or anything he say, how little it is, it's just going to have ripples in the passport bro space. You know what I'm saying? And that can also further hinder the space as well. And I'm not, and quite frankly, I think as far as like Jay Rello, this situation with Floyd, I'm going to be honest with you. The situation with Floyd, I think he might have took a lot of steam out going forward in regards to Jay Rello, because, not that you want him to top this sort of thing, this sort of, type of BS situation that Floyd's caught him in, because, he did it to himself. But I think anything that Jay Rello do is probably not going to be that, really that polarizing in a sense, because of the thing Floyd got caught up in, But, we're going to see. I haven't seen anything. It's been a week now, or probably a week and a day. I have not seen anything on the news for Floyd, other than a couple articles. There's no real updates. I did look up like how the prisons look. It looks nasty. It looks terrible. I did look up what's going on in Rio. There's a lot going on out there. So, but yeah, it's looking pretty rough, man, for him. But yeah, I think if this was the final straw for the passport bros, as far as taking all the air out, this is probably it. I know everybody's trying to do what they can to save face, but you kind of have to take the L. You kind of have to accept the fact that when it comes to traveling, that's just what comes with traveling, as far as trying to sleep with women and all that. And the truth is, like I say, most guys in the travel space, not all, but a lot of them, do sleep, with different women. And for the passport bros to try to separate itself from that as a so-called strength, it shows like it's actually, it was really to their detriment, because he wasn't really keeping it real. That's why I think BMT. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and I think BMT is a big part of this problem too. And I like BMT, but I feel like he's problematic simply because he don't want to take, he don't want to do what he has to do to make other people accountable. He can't just look at it as, he can't control what this person does or that person does, things like that, or, but this is your brand or whatever, and yeah, I think this is kind of probably, as the year goes on, it's probably going to get more and more out of his hands, out of his control. And we'll see. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if not Floyd, but Austin ends up coming back home this year, like around summertime or later this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Kid Greatness do the same thing. I know Austin, like I said, he's taking a little bit less criticism because he's been kind of hovering, strictly in Africa. But I wouldn't be surprised based off the situation. So that's what I think on that. So, but what I was saying earlier, to start this all off again, Floyd he's looking at a long time, looking at the laws, how that stuff looks, it looks bad, but, people can clearly see the signs something's wrong, you know what I'm saying? Men could, like I say, we could theoretically sleep with a girl legally from 18 and up, but most men don't use that age specifically. They'll say, like I said earlier, 25 and up or whatever. People just don't trust the whole 28 thing because it's nefarious. all you're doing is just waiting for the person to turn 18, which means you had attraction to a minor, sort of deal. You know what I'm saying? And that's a really bad look for Floyd, and it's really a bad look for the brand. Because to be fair, most of them aren't necessarily doing that. But when you're doing something like sex tourism, it's going to lead you into them sort of spaces. That's what this sort of stuff is at. So I think, like I said in my last video, I do think Floyd probably met some people online back when he was in the States that was down in Brazil or Colombia or somewhere else, and I think he probably hooked up business-wise with them in order to do what he's been accused of as far as exploitation. And I don't think there's any passport bros at all involved other than himself. Like I said, weird people, they can sniff out other weird people. And the way Floyd is, he just never really fit the space, I would say, because of how odd he was. And I agree with Rico, people didn't care because they were trying to get their numbers up. The same with J. Rello, even Austin, Floyd too. They were just trying to get their numbers up. Austin did the same thing, and he's definitely paying the price. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up moving back home just to kind of let the whole thing die down. That's what he's trying to avoid, and that was the goal, to get money from YouTube, basically from other people and live overseas. That's the goal, and that's the sad part, because he's not really achieving nothing, especially with all these scams and stuff. So that's the same for Kid Greatness. That's the same for that guy at Travelversity. That other guy is another guy. It's the other trucker guy down in Brazil. He was with Austin and Floyd too, and especially J. Rello. So, but that's just how it is right there. So, but this is my thoughts on that right there. So, and I'm gonna guys keep you posted on the Floyd situation. As of right now, there's no updates, and I don't probably see any updates for at least the next month or so, unless somebody speaks up. But I just know if he were to get out and come back to the States, he'd probably go to jail. But as far as the YouTube goes, anything he says, despite how small it is, it's just going to be over polarized into the space, and that can just further hurt the passport bro brand as a whole, in that scenario. But we'll see though. So that's it for this video. That's my thoughts on that, and I'll keep you guys posted. Catch you guys on the next one.